Hello and welcome to Devlog number 10. Happy 10th Devlog anniversary. The last 2 weeks since the last Devlog have been quite busy. There's been some major progress, some small progress, and some fun frustration. Number one I worked on was going back to the level hazards. If you follow the devlogs, you've seen that one of the earlier builds had these big wrecking balls, and I wanted to have something that fits this subway system a bit more. So I tried having those electric wires that hang around. If you touch them, you get electrified. They didn't really fit very well. I didn't like them, even if they are bouncing and rejecting or reacting to the bullets. It didn't feel right, but I did end up liking the falling debris that you see. So you get a bit of a warning. Debris falls down. It fits a bit better, so I probably might go with this, but the idea is to have some more level hazards that show up the further you progress, the more hazards you have, so it gets even more difficult. Not sure how you feel about the electric wires. They're okay. I didn't really like them, but it's about experimentation, so let's see what else we can find and then decide which hazards we keep. Number two, I wanted to have a level selector, so I wanted to check how certain hazards that are mapped to different levels or level progresses, how they feel, how the wave system works, how it, so I can jump forward and backwards, so I don't need to complete 20 levels to test level 21, which worked fine. I might keep it in the end for people to play specific levels or subsets of levels, but for me it's now just for playtesting, and it makes it really much easier. So it's a handy tool. I liked it. It took a bit of time, but we got there, so I'm quite happy with it. The next thing I built on was actually a quite big one. That one was a fun one. So one of the things I really wanted to introduce is a bit more of randomness and also replayability factors, so I decided to bring back the modifiers. If you're one of the few people watching this devlog, you might have seen something similar ages ago. Back then those were more like level modifiers, not really player-specific modifiers. The idea was that after each level you get a choice of 2 modifiers. You select one of them, it gets applied to the robot. Those could be quicker blade spinning, it could be a second blade for the robot, it could be faster movement speed, and I think also the size of the blade is increased. So those are the 4 or 5 modifiers I have. It's hard-coded at the moment, so it's not really scalable, and we'll talk about the whole issue with the robots and how I want to structure it in the future as well. But it took a bit of time just to get those modifiers working, because obviously I had to rework the existing robot to make it a bit more workable. But yeah, it's fine, it's working. Sometimes I'm just surprised when stuff works. But yeah, I'll take it as a victory. Cool. Then, yep, some other fun stuff. I temporarily broke my scripts and my project. I thought it was a good idea to tidy up. I did a bunch of refactoring, and I thought, while I'm already doing some housekeeping, I might as well move some old scripts around, delete some old scripts, and remove some other ones in different subfolders. So that was a bad idea. I broke it. I used the Explorer, not really the editor, to shuffle around scripts, so I broke the references. But GitHub saved me. I loaded an old build, or old commit, I should say, and then replaced the script. So all was good. Then we also worked on the controls, which is my nemesis. It's been one of the biggest issues that's always popped up from people that playtested it, from myself, but also from people from the Brackies Game Jam, that the controls are just not really good and intuitive. So I spent probably 120-50 billion hours reworking it, and it led to some weird results. So I ended up scrapping the entire control system and just used the old control system, the old input system. There were some odd issues that initially you could use the left joystick to move, which worked perfectly fine, but when I introduced the right joystick, handling the rotation, it would spin out of control and also override the function of the left movement joystick. So when you then use the left joystick, it spun around like crazy, which I don't know why, I don't care. It took me like 50 billion hours, but in the end it works, so really happy with that one. And lastly, a really huge one, so the battle robots. I used ChatGPT to generate a list of the 100 most notable battle bots and categorize them in 9 categories and give examples and the types of weapons that they use and the visual features they have. ChatGPT spat out those 9 categories and an example that I put in case you follow battle bots from the early 2000s. The idea is I want to have different robots, obviously, to make it a bit more interesting which robot is your sidekick and have that robot specific features and weapons. I'm not hugely convinced yet which ones I'll go for. Some are more probable to use in the future than others. I don't see flippers or spinners as good categories. Those are just spinning around trying to kick off people and lift them in the air. I don't see it hugely helpful for a zombie apocalypse. But stuff like, crushers or hammers, spinners, unique weapons, projectiles, crushers, they might work. So that's, I guess, the creative part for the weekend, to do a few drawings and just see how it feels and then what type of weapons and battle robots I come up with. But that requires a lot of thinking on the coding part. So as I mentioned, at the moment it's very hard coded and just working for one robot with one set of weapons, it's hardly scalable, and everything was managed in one robot controller for one robot prefab. I spent time refactoring it into 4 different scripts, so controller, attack controller, speed indicator, and target. The last 2 the indicator and the target one, they're not really relevant for the modifiers. But at the moment, those modifiers are hard-coded in the robot controller and attack controller, and I need to find some way to make them robot independent, so I can have different prefabs, different modifiers, and not hard-code them into the controllers. So I spent a few minutes with scriptable objects, but it was a bit overwhelming. I couldn't get them to work. So the future idea that I want to work on in the next 2 weeks is how can I use scriptable objects to be kind of like read by the different robot prefabs, and those scriptable objects should contain all the relevant modifiers. So the robot prefab is loaded, it looks into the scriptable objects and then loads the modifiers depending on the prefab, the type of robot, but I have no idea how to do it. It scares me to death to look at it because it will break everything I have on the robots, but we need to make it work. So yep, we did a bunch of work. Again, as I said, on the level hazards, we worked on the level select screen. I refactored the robot modifiers and the robot controllers. I temporarily broke my project, but thanks to GitHub, I saved it. I fixed the whole rotation stuff and the virtual joysticks, which I'm really happy about. That was my big nemesis, so I hope I'll never have to touch controls ever again for the robot. Not for the robot, for the player. And yeah, I think it's a worthy 10th devlog. It's a bunch of work for just 2 weeks. And excited to see what the next 2 weeks will bring. And if you haven't checked out the Discord server, it's very lonely and empty. So, join and provide some comments. And thanks for watching. See you soon. Thank you.